No kings, no emperors, yet the most powerful empire in history. The United States never called itself an empire. There were no royal crowns, no imperial titles, no global flag planting ceremonies. And yet, in just a centuries, a former colony of 13 small states became the most influential power the world has ever known. This is not a story of conquest alone. It's a story of timing, money, war, and a very different kind of strategy. And near the end of this video, you'll see the single moment when America crossed a line from a powerful nation to a global empire without the world, or even its own people, fully realizing it had happened. In 1776, the American colonies didn't just rebel against Britain. They rejected the entire idea of monarchy and the inherited power that came with it. This single decision mattered more than anything else. Europe's empires were built on kings, bloodlines, and direct, often brutal, control. America's power would be built on something different, something more abstract: institutions. It would be an empire of banks, of contracts, and of trade agreements. This fundamental difference in philosophy would change everything. While the old empires focused on conquering territory, America focused on building systems that would eventually control the world's economy. It was a quieter, slower, but far more enduring path to power. As Europe became tangled in its own endless cycle of wars throughout the 19th century, America looked west. It expanded across a vast, resource-rich continent. This land wasn't just empty space, it was the foundation for an industrial superpower. Land meant timber, coal, iron, and oil. These resources fueled a boom in industry that was unlike anything seen before. Railroads stitched the continent together, creating the largest single market in the world. Factories exploded in number, churning out steel, textiles, and machinery. By the late 1800s, America wasn't just growing, it was outproducing the great powers of Europe combined. But industry alone doesn't create global power. To become a true empire, you need to project that power abroad. World War I was the turning point. It devastated Europe physically, economically, and psychologically. America entered the war late, suffered far fewer casualties, and left incredibly rich. While the great cities of Europe burned and their economies collapsed, US factories ran non-stop, supplying the Allies with weapons, food, and supplies. But more importantly, America became the world's banker. While other nations sank into ruinous debt to fund their war efforts, America became their primary lender. By the time the war ended, the old powers of Europe owed America staggering sums of money. And as we all know, power always follows debt. This was the moment America stepped onto the world stage, not as an equal, but as a creditor. But this was only the beginning. Up to this point, America was powerful, wealthy, and influential. But after the next war, it would become something else entirely. It would become untouchable. World War II finished what the First War started. It completely destroyed the old imperial order. Britain was financially broken, France was defeated and occupied. Germany and Japan were shattered into ruin, but the United States, its homeland, was virtually untouched by the fighting. Its industrial base had doubled in size. Its military was now the strongest on the planet, possessing a weapon no one else had: the atomic bomb. At the war's end, America stood alone. Then came the masterstroke, the Marshall Plan. The US decided to rebuild Europe, but on its own terms. It poured billions of dollars into reconstructing its allies and former enemies using American money, American goods, and American rules. This wasn't just charity, with help came influence. America wasn't just rebuilding nations, it was building a new world order centered around itself. And this is where we see the final, crucial piece of the puzzle fall into place. After World War II, at a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, the world's leading nations made a monumental decision. They agreed to make the US dollar the world's reserve currency. From that moment on, global trade would be conducted in dollars. Oil, the lifeblood of the modern world, would be priced in dollars. International debts would be owed in dollars. This gave the United States a power no empire in history had ever possessed. It meant America could essentially print money, and the rest of the world had to accept it to participate in the global economy. It was an invisible, financial empire, controlling the flow of capital without ever having to plant a flag. And this power was almost completely hidden from public view. Traditional empires ruled through occupation. Roman legions marched into Gaul. British administrators governed India. America perfected a different model, the Empire of Bases. It established hundreds of military installations in strategic locations across the globe. These weren't colonies. They were forward operating posts that projected power without the cost and headache of direct rule. Allies became dependent on American protection. Enemies were deterred by the constant American presence. Then, you add the soft power. Hollywood movies, American music, and brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's spread American culture and values to every corner of the earth. Tech giants from Silicon Valley created the digital infrastructure the world runs on. Power no longer needed borders or armies of occupation. It flowed through satellites, fiber optic cables, and movie screens. But every empire, no matter how powerful, eventually faces decline. The laws of history are unforgiving. Today, America faces challenges it hasn't seen in generations. National debt is rising to unprecedented levels. Rivals, especially China, are challenging its economic dominance and building their own systems of influence. Trust in American leadership, both at home and abroad, is eroding. The question today isn't whether America is still powerful. It clearly is. The real question is this: did America build the perfect, invisible empire, or the most fragile one ever created? Because history teaches us that empires don't always fall from foreign invasion. Sometimes, they simply collapse from within.